are the large and smallmouth bass, the bluegill, the catfish, the gar, that's G-A-R, us Aussies are not good at pronouncing our R's, gotta spell that for you. And then there's the tarpon. That tarpon is a bit unique. It is native to Florida, just not this part. It is a saltwater fish. They grow to be about 8 feet long. Unfortunately, a few of them have lost their way and are trapped up here in the freshwaters of the Everglades. So if you see what looks like a small dolphin crest the water throughout our tour, that is a tarpon. Covered up on the left, I see at least one iguana in the tree. Closest to us. There's some vultures in the tree just beyond it. The iguanas are also invasive from South America. And believe it or not, in the winter it sometimes gets too cold in here in Florida for them. When that happens, they'll climb to the tallest, thinnest branch, like that one there is doing. It's very hard to spot. It's bright green, matches the leaves perfectly, but he's up there. Anyhow, they'll clamp down nice and hard and drop their body temperature to just above operating temps. That way, when the but that combined with the cold air around them can sometimes freeze the iguana all the way through. We got a slightly oranger one on a separate branch a bit lower. A good gust of wind comes along and that frozen iguana will get blown right out of the tree. It does happen. I got a mechanic get hit in the head by a frozen iguana once. I'm going to do a couple more passes in this area. We've got both vultures and the iguanas, so get your cameras ready. The iguanas are much harder to spot, but these vultures, let's talk about them. These islands on either side of us are the vulture islands. At the end of the day, they'll be covered in hundreds of vultures. The white leaves you see is actually a vulture vomit. Vultures have no way of defending themselves other than to projectile vomit. You can see there's been a fair few arguments in some of these poor trees here. Oh yeah, you can see that bright orange iguana off the front right corner now, clear as day. Quite the contrast colour right there.
Started up there.
Anyhow, vultures. Got two types, turkey vultures and the black vultures. Turkey vultures are these ones on the right here. They got a 6-foot wingspan, brownish blackish feathers, and a red head. They kind of look like a turkey. Don't tell them that though, they're a bit sensitive on that subject. Black vultures are a bit smaller, wingspan of 5.5 feet, and they are, as you could guess, all black head to toe. Side, your time to shine again. As we go back into this cut, look slightly backwards on your left. You'll see the orange iguana in the tree. He's bobbing his head right now. And back to vultures. They're like the janitors of the Everglades. They clean up any messes these grasses around us can't quite filter out. There's the corpse of, well, anything really. Fish, turtles, snakes, alligators, other birds. They eat it all. Vulture don't care. I grew up not too far from the Sunshine Coast where the Australia Zoo is located, so I'm obligated to say, what a gorgeous creature, like the Owens do. But, gotta disagree when it comes to vultures. They're a bit gnarly, if you ask me.
Could you see it?
Yeah, there. On the tree it's orange.
Being a vulture is messy business, but they do have a couple of ways to cope with that. First of which you probably know they have no feathers on their heads. That is so, after going neck deep in a dinner, they pull out and they don't have a bunch of bloody matted feathers covering their ears and eyes. What about the rest of their bodies, you may ask? Well, none of you asked that question, but I'm going to answer it anyways, because it is a spicy one. Vultures have a type of acid in the urine that works as an antiseptic. After finishing a meal, they'll spread themselves their own urine and will kill off any parasites or bacteria inflicted during their dinner. Very gnarly creatures indeed. Oh, the hot, dry wind this day. It smells horrendous out here on the Vulture Islands. Getting a slight whiff of it now, so we're going to bugger off. right orange iguana on the right side there. That's a big fella, eh? Continue, got one last bird species for you, an osprey coming up on the left side on that tree branch on the corner there. I'm going to try to get you a bit closer. Now, unlike the cormorants, ospreys can only dive 6 feet to catch their prey. They are primarily a flight bird, after all. Signified by their white legs, their white front, their brown feathers and back, as well as a little brown band of feathers around their head that enables them to see more sharply in the bright sunlight. Looks like he just caught himself some breakfast. Give the right side a good look. Allegedly, the rarest photograph to possibly take in the Everglades is that of an osprey flying through the air with a fish in his talons. We got 2/3 of that going on right now. Now that's what they say. I've seen it happen dozens of times in this line of work, so I don't quite get the hype, but I don't make the rules. So time for our second speed run. This one is not as long as the first, but just as fast. So pick up those feet, hold on to your things and people, cover those ears, take off. In 3, 2, 1. After another native fish species, classic case of colonizers and their incredible imagination. Saw a shiny fish, was like, heck mate, that's a shiner, and so it became. Shiners were once great abundance in these waters, but over time these grasses around us shifted a bit, opening some new gateways for them to explore, as I mentioned before. So they are still here, just a lot more spread out. They're also a go-to source of fishing bait out here in the Everglades for shiners. is also where the Miccosukee and Seminole Native American tribes met up to trade goods, trade secrets, violate the non-disclosure agreements. Use of the resources of the Everglades, those natives. Give you a few examples throughout our tour, first of which are these grasses around us. They would fashion them into ropes. They didn't have airboats, but they did have canoes, which are very prone to tipping over. So they use those ropes to secure their personal belongings. Two types of grass primarily out here, that's the cattle grass and sawgrass. Cattle grass are these taller, thicker leaves you see around us. Sawgrass is a bit shorter and much thinner. Sawgrass has serrated edges. If you were to run your finger from top to bottom on a blade of sawgrass, it would cut you right down to the bone. In this final part of the canal, they'll probably be up on the banks. There's a slight chance they might be under the trees too, but if I was an alligator on a cold day like today, I'd definitely be sunbathing. Now, spotting them in the water when it's this cold is pretty hard. They're barely above the surface, but on the banks it's unmistakable. This canal a little ways, searching out the left side, and then do the same on the way back, see if we can spot anything. If I do, I'll spin around both sides. Now you are lower to the water level than I am, so you can see further back. So if you do see something on the banks, point it out. I'll either confirm or deny your discovery, and we'll go from there. Whether we find one or not, here's a few gator facts to prepare you for the show. To gauge the length of an alligator, you want to get a rough idea of the distance between their eyes and their nose. Must emphasize, rough idea. Don't hold a ruler up to their face, they'll bite it in half. Whatever that distance is in inches, translate that to feet. That is roughly how long the alligator will be. 8 inches, 8 feet. Got it? And the first 5 years of their lives, alligators will grow an average of 1 foot per year. 5-foot gator, 5 years old. After that, their overall length depends on the environment, that is, how well they eat and how many droughts they experience. This bank that's now going to be on our left side is a bit taller, so it's a bit more tricky for them to get out on it, but we'll check it out anyways. Now, where I come from, crocodiles rule the waters, but there is one way to tell them apart from an alligator. A crocodile you see in a while, an alligator you see later. That's it. It's the only way to tell them apart. Yeah, no. Crocodiles are green, alligators are black. Crocodiles have a nice long slender snout, and alligators look like they're punched in the schnozzle. If you go further south in the Everglades, you get to an area known as brackish waters. There's a mix of salt and fresh water. That one little spot in the Everglades is the only place in the entire world where crocodiles and alligators coexist. Any further south, just salt water there, and it's all croc territory there and out, down into the Florida Keys. Right side, look out, right side, look out. Let's talk about that piece of vegetation we just crashed into. It is a pond apple tree. They produce the fruit 6 months out of the year. Now, we are out of season right now, but I'll describe it to you. The pond apple is the shape of a strawberry, the size of a pear, the texture of an avocado, and the color of a Granny Smith. Now, the Native Americans mash up the pond apples to make jam. My best guess is they spread that jam on their flour bread. Makes sense, right? Apple is nicknamed the gator apple because alligators will eat them despite being carnivores. Alligators are what we call opportunistic hunters. It's a fancy way of saying they are lazy. They'd rather have food come to them than to go get it themselves. So if a gator was perched underneath one of these pond apple trees, gator apple fell into the water, plop. An alligator would take the opportunity to lash down onto their fruit with 2,500 pounds of force and swallow it whole. As your mum said, always eat your fruits and veggies. If there's no gator around to catch the apple when it falls, then it'll float in the water for a while until it gets soggy, and the turtles will have at it. We've got both hard-shell turtles and soft-shell turtles here in the Everglades. Soft-shell turtles have a soft shell, hard-shell turtles also have a soft shell. No, I'm kidding, they have a hard shell, duh. What of which is the legendary alligator snapping turtle, because, of course, it's the Everglades. Everything out here needs to be named after an alligator, right? And if you keep a real sharp eye out, especially at night time, you might also spot the rare and elusive Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Some kind of waterfowl.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. This concludes our tour. No, I suppose I should say all okay things must come to an end. Sorry I couldn't find any alligators out there for you, but it is the wild out here. They have their own agenda. We'll be docking on the right side of the boat again. Anyone over there, please keep your hands in. Do not try to stop the boat. It weighs 2.5 tons and that dock isn't going anywhere. You don't stand a chance. We have had guests lose fingertips before. Speaking of tips, where I come from, everyone makes a living wage. It's a beautiful thing. But the Yanks haven't quite figured that out yet. Our sailboat captains are in the service industry, so we have to rely on the tipping culture here to get us through the day. Those tips are of course not required, but are always highly appreciated. If you're ahead of the times, don't carry cash on you anymore. No worries, got my Venmo QR code on